Okay, Wednesday, hump day. I had a pretty good productive day in the shop. Deb and I took a 2-hour lunch hour. It's pretty fun to do, especially when the sun's shining. Tomorrow is supposed to get, in the afternoon, supposed to start snowing, maybe 5 to 8 inches, so we took advantage of the sunny, dry roads today. And we still could pull another one off tomorrow before the snow starts. So I've been sanding most of the day. I kind of shifted gears from, but when you got a hobby, you can do that and it doesn't really matter. So I was going to work on the plow, try to get the 5 bottoms all bent and welded and attached to the frame, those mounts. I didn't even touch the plow today. I started out sanding on the fenders, and then I said I got to start doing the sanding on this because there's a lot of stuff to sand. So I got the seat sanded. I got all this housing here sanded. I took the 3-point hitch parts off. I got all those sanded. I got the axle. Here, maybe over half sanded, and I'm just kind of working on doing some more sanding on the steering and up here on the side. So, and I did a little bit on the other side, so I just tipped the tractor up on this side and kind of starting to work on some of the final work on this. And then I come down here. I've been working on the hood, and I kind of did a little bit more on the little hood ornament, and you can kind of see how that's going to fit there eventually. And I got the exhaust muffler off and the fuel cap and the radiator cap off, and I did some more sanding on the hood. And I did some sanding on these today and got those more rounded off. And I did some more on the sides, and so I kind of made some progress on that. So I worked my way up to the steering column here, and then I'm working up towards the steering wheel to kind of do the final sanding on that. And then I still have to do, you can see where I put a little bit of filler in the end of those, where those little 1/4-inch nuts were welded in, and I just kind of roughed them in. I still feel they're high, but I just did it with the sander. So then that'll have to be taken down just carefully with the sandpaper so I don't go into it. And then I'll get back, and so I still got a couple of days of sanding on this, so depends on how I feel tomorrow, but I'm pretty sure I'm going to keep going on this. I want to get the first coat of sealer on it, and so I can see better how it's looking. So I did we can go back down here and I'll show you the fenders, if Deb can manipulate going backwards here. And Deb wanted me to tell you is that today she downloaded video number 200, right?
Yes,
wow.
Yes.
How many do you think we had before? 250?
Oh, we had a lot before. I think a lot before.
Still maybe just 250, so we're not that far
Oh,
off.
well,
For
maybe.
the short time.
I'll have to look.
Before we were on probably 7 or 8 years.
Yeah, I'll have to
now
look.
We've only been on about 6 months. To think we started with nothing, right? I mean, we started all over right from scratch on the videos, right?
Right, we had to, yeah.
So we did that. So here's the first part of the fenders, and they'll dry for several days, and then I'll wet sand them, and then we'll go from there on those. And today I don't think they look quite right. I don't think the green looks quite right, and I almost don't think the yellow looks quite right. So I still might use this as the base coat. How do they look today, Deb? Do you think they look as yellow? But it don't matter because we can use this for like the primer, you know?
Yeah.
See the yellow on this?
Oh, yeah. So what do you
see the
say?
Green? I think now that I see more of the green, maybe it doesn't look as quite the right shade, but still that's fine. We'll see. We'll see. And so anyway, where was I? Right here. Okay, so here I am, guys. I was going to show you. I'm going to show you here real quick. I'm going to put some, paint some of these headlight housings. And what else we got, Deb, going on? We got, oh, we got another, over 100 more subscribers yesterday. That is crazy. Every day last month, we got averaged, no, not last month, last week. Starting last week, like 7 days or 10 days ago, we started averaging 100 new subscribers every day. And did it again yesterday, so that's very cool. So I'm just putting a little quick coat of paint on these headlight housings. And then I looked at the John Deere 6030 that's in the house, and I think those front tires that we bought for the 4020 look like they're going to work really good for the 6030 too. So that'll be pretty cool to know that I can use those. And here's the tail light, that tail light, and I'm painting everything all black just to begin with for like a base coat, and then whatever colors it needs to be after that I can do. But I want to get a nice thick coat of paint on them. And go on. Here's the radiator cap. Get a nice coat of paint on that. I don't like thin paint on anything. I just can't stand rusty stuff. So I would rather have a nice thick coat of paint or 2 thick coats of paint on something than just, people ask me if I use the spray cans, and I don't. I've tried it, and I think they're actually worse than they've ever been. They're so runny and watery. Even if you wait and put like 2 or 3 coats on with them spray cans, it's just, when it's done, it's still so paper thin, the coats of paint. So I love good thick coats of paint on everything. So then we got 2 more here. And then I was gonna tell you about another tractor project. The first 4-wheel drive tractor that I ever drove was not on our farm. It was on my brother-in-law's farm. And after I got out of the Army, we bought a house right next to him where my sister lived. And he had case tractors. So he had a case, maybe what was it? Man, I don't know. 1030 maybe? It's been a while. I think it was maybe a 1030 maybe. And then they had a Ford 9000. And then they had an old Alice Chalmers. But shortly after so I ran I want to say 1030. I ran that a couple summers and putting on anhydrous. And then he bought a 4-wheel drive tractor. And I was so tickled. I come home from work one night, and I think my sister told Deb for me to come down to the shop because there was something that I would be excited about. And I went down there, and there sat a brand new, it was 2670 case, 4-wheel drive. It was crab steer. It was a straight frame. It didn't articulate, and it didn't have the duals on it, but it was brand new. And those guys, my brother-in-law, all smiles because he knew I was so excited. And so he said the duals are coming the next day. So we got so the next day after I got out of work, I couldn't wait to get down there. So whoops, I just goofed up.
What'd you do?
I painted both caps black. So I gotta change that real quick. One's supposed to be red.
Oh,
Malfunction. It's right here.
glitch.
Should we edit that?
Nope.
Or should we know that? Let them know.
No, because sometimes I have my thumb in there. I'm not editing that anymore. I'm like, hey, my thumb's in the picture. My thumb's in the picture.
Really? So let's just take a second. So, okay, here we go, guys. There, back to
Square
back to
one.
gray. Let's go back to red here. The first coat of red on him.
So anyways, on with the story.
So we went, and the next day I got done, and they were just putting the last duals on the new case tractor, and he didn't really have a piece of tillage equipment to go behind it, so we were still using the old case, the little one, and so like 3 days later, maybe the field cultivator came in. It was like a 30 maybe 38 foot. It was the biggest one that I'd ever been around, because we just had small tractors at the farm, 4020s and 4430s. We never had a four-wheel drive tractor. And all right, did I get them? Yeah. And so they got the field cultivator, and the next day I worked at Kroger's, so I went up and had to go to work, so I was so excited to get that tractor. And anyway, the next day they got the field cultivator, and my brother-in-law was trying it out. He come around behind the barn, and he caught the corner of the field cultivator on the barn and bent it all the heck. I thought, holy cow, whoops. Getting carried away here. Sorry. Sheesh. And he caught the corner of the barn and made a big old rip, or broke the boards in the barn on that corner by the shop. And I thought, oh man, I'm glad that wasn't me, because they wouldn't have been mad, but I'd have felt so bad. And they just kind of laughed it off, and so that was it was kind of funny because I didn't do it. But if I would have done it, I'd have felt so bad. A brand new tractor and a brand new field cultivator, and here it's got all kinked up and bent, and didn't want to fold up quite right, and so I had to take it apart and order new parts and fix it all up. But I never did catch anything on anything. Maybe that scared me, and that's why I never did, because I was always extra cautious going around telephone poles, and so I was lucky, and I never caught anything. But Deb and I were going out to my mom's to the farm one day, and we saw the consumers flashing lights out in the field, and one of the area farmers, he must have folded up the cultivator before he pulled out past the power lines, because he caught the top of the field cultivator, remember, Deb, with the power lines, and he not only pulled down he didn't break the power lines, he pulled down the poles. He pulled down 2 poles in the field. And we thought, holy cow. And I mean, you just think, man, all the times I was out there farming, if I'd ever done that, I'd have been I'd have been so upset. I'd have been upset. So, but luckily we never did. The only thing I ever happened was when I was maybe 12 or 13. I was driving probably the 4010 with duals, and had a 20-foot drag on behind it. Behind the drag we had a color packer, but nothing raised then. Everything was just on the ground. We just had an old wooden sled that we moved it with. And one time I was going around the telephone pole, and I didn't allow to go for the whole color packer to make it going around there. Not bad.
Mm.
And I just barely, I didn't hit the pole, but I could see that it wasn't gonna make the turn. So I stopped, and the other guys were working in the field with me, and they'd seen what had happened, so they came over with another tractor and got a chain, and we just pulled the color packer sideways maybe 5 feet, so I didn't miss it by like a mile, but they pulled it to the side, and I kept going. Then, and one other mishap, the only other thing that ever happened all the years on the farm that just scared the heck out of me was the same 4010, and it had this hydraulic issue where you would sometimes touch the steering brake to turn, and because you didn't have you couldn't raise the drag or the stuff back in the 60s, it pulled the tractor so much it didn't want to turn, so you almost had to use the steering brake to make the turn at the end of the field. And so sometimes you'd touch that brake and it wouldn't hardly engage, but other times you would touch it and it would lock up. And so one time I was going around the corner with that 20-foot drag, and it locked up. I mean, it happened quick because I was already had to half the turn, and the tractor locked up, and that drag came right up over the duals, right to the fender. I mean, it would have killed me in a minute if I wouldn't have seen what was happening and stopped. So it didn't make it to the fender, but it made it almost to the fender, and I mean, that scared me. That just scared me. So then we were all three of us were working in the same field, so with 3 tractors. So they came over and said, "Oh, those brakes aren't right." Because on the 4020 that never happened, or on the 530 or any of the tractors that I ever ran, that I never had the brakes lock up like that. And so they came back, and we kind of they had to pull back on the drag as I was backing up the tractor real slow, so it would go back down the tire. But it didn't break anything or didn't hurt the fender, it didn't hurt the tire, but because it was just still the flexible hitch that was caught up on the tire. So that was the other only incident that ever happened on the farm. So anyway, I'll let you go. So the story time's over, I guess. Right, Deb?
You're right.
You want to tell a story?
No, I have none to tell.
How about when we were dating? You got any stories of when we were dating? I remember how you could tell the story when I bought the first Corvette, remember?
Oh, you love that story.
And you were crying. Remember?
No, you love that story.
Yeah. We went to Saginaw and I bought my first Corvette. And Deb we took her car, and on the way back she followed me. And we stopped at Hemlock at the car wash because it was dusty, so I wanted to wash the Corvette. And I was just so excited. I just saw smiles and so excited. And I looked back in the car and Deb's crying. She's sitting in the car crying.
That is so untrue.
Oh, then how's this rest of the story end if that wasn't the case? So then, when we got back to our house,
you love that story.
You said, "I'm afraid you're going to leave me because now you have a Corvette." I said, "I'm not going to leave you." So the rest of our life, I always remember that. But it was one that wasn't. I mean, you could understand. I mean, I was hot. I was hot to begin with. That's why she was like all over me.
No, I had a brand new Firebird.
Yeah, she had a brand new car. She had a brand new Firebird, so it kind of worked the other way for a while. But then once I got the Corvette, she was like, "Oh, we kind of reversed the situation here." So, but no, I never left her after that. I mean, I loved it.
Then you went in the Army, and it went in the barn.
Yeah.
That was that.
Army and that. So anyway, that was a funny story. That was a funny Corvette story.
All right.
Okay, guys. Thanks again for all the nice comments. Thanks for continuing to stop by. And there's so many other cool YouTube videos out there these days, and so many people that are doing cool stuff and dangerous stuff. And I'm glad some of you are enjoying just the boring old model building, but hopefully we can inspire some of you to try your hand at it, because I'm sure a lot of you are a lot talented than I am. It's just I love creating the metal art, and so we'll wrap it up and we'll see you tomorrow. Have a nice evening.